Hello, dear listener. This is Pete Daly Dixon here, one of your co-hosts of the Six Star Business Podcast, episode 27 of the same. And I'm joined by my other co-host, Evelyn Clark. How you doing, Evelyn?
Hey, Pete. I'm great. Thank you. Great. Thank you very much. How are you?
Yeah, really good. I finished yesterday. I completed week 1 of 75 Hard.
Yay.
And yeah, the clue's in the name.
I know. And for those of you listening who don't know what it is, go check it out. And yeah, 75 Hard. Is that
.com.
the .com? Yeah.
Yeah.
I also am doing 75 Hard. I'm not talking about it very much because I'm trying to trick my brain into thinking it's just the next day. And yeah, I know what they say about the hard bit, and now I understand what he meant by it gets hard after a battle. Anyway, on to less hard things. The
podcast, yeah. And we've said before, we don't plan these, and I don't deliberately think about how I'm going to segue, but there is there's something that links 75 Hard with what we talked about on the podcast, thinking specifically about the growth mindset, about growing, because ultimately that's what it's about. What are your recollections from the episode?
It was a beautiful episode, Pete, because we went sort of deep into the humanity about finding the right people and those, and the feeling you get from it, from being with people inside your business, but also when you come into contact with a new business. And these guys really took us down a journey that I just loved being. I actually wanted this journey to continue because we talked about psych safety, we talked about growth mindset, all those things that are so important. And Raj and Jamie just brought it to the table. It was just brilliant.
I thought it was a really fascinating insight from Jamie that 5 stars is the most that will ever be from the external validation of a company will only ever be 5 stars. The 6th star is the humans inside the business and their growth and development. So all of that is explored and more in this episode, number 27.
Yeah.
So enjoy.
Yeah, so get in there and we hope you enjoy it.
Should we get the show on the road, Av?
Yes, let's do it. All right, so here we are. Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Six Star Business Podcast. It is so awesome to have you guys here today. I'm really excited. Pete has a cough, so he's going to mute himself and cough occasionally through this, but we just will ignore that part because we're going to be so engrossed in the conversation. Jamie, lovely to meet you, and Raj, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, so thank you.
Thank you so much. Hey, just to get us started, what we always tend to do is we'll take it in turns. What we'd love to know from you for our listeners' benefit is, first of all, who you are, where you are in the world, what you do in the world to serve others, and anything else of interest. So, Jamie, given you're at the top of my right of my screen, would you like to take us away?
I will do, thank you. So, I am from Dundee, a city in sunny Scotland. I've resided here all my life, and I've had the absolute privilege in my professional career to really help individuals and communities and organisations to really believe that they can fulfil their potential. So my background for a long time was in developing sport, so developing grassroots level sport and elite sport, working with coaches and clubs and athletes, parents, organisations, to just have the most nurturing environments and individuals to help people take their choosing sport or activity to whatever level. And using not just the sports or developing sports, using sport as a vehicle to improve individuals' lives as well. So individuals who have came from particular challenging backgrounds or vulnerable children and adults and families looking to improve the quality of their lives through physical activity, through the power of sport, through linking to other thematic areas such as employability, mental health, youth justice, criminal justice, to name but a few, but having the absolute privilege to watch individuals grow on their own basis, on their own level, but really so rewarding, which has led me into the past 7 years really working extensively in education, using growth mindset principles to embed within learning and teaching and pedagogy, what does growth mindset really mean in the curriculum? What does it mean for children, young people, and adults to believe that they can achieve more? And really taking that same context into business, back into sport, which is allowing me to have just such a broad range of people that I work with every single week, which from a growth mindset perspective keeps me alert to be the master of instantaneous response depending on who I'm working with, but also really challenging myself by scaring myself each week by the organisations and people that I work with, because a lot of voices in your head, the self-limiting beliefs are there, but always overcoming them to help me fulfill my potential at the same time. So a wonderful life I do live.
It's brilliant.
And what about personally? Do you have a family? Do you have children? What occupies your time outside of work?
I am a husband, a father of 3. I also coach sport. I've been coaching in football for the past 20 years as well, so that takes up a significant piece of my time. Plus, I'm also a consultant with the Proctor Gallagher Institute, working with the main man, Bob Proctor, across the world. So, yes, something else that I do in my spare time.
Love it. Thank you
Wonderful.
so much,
Thanks,
Jamie.
Great to have you here.
Raj.
So maybe I'll jump right in. Hi, my name is Raj. I go by the name of Raj Goodman Anand, which is a Goodman. The name was given by my grandfather before he passed away. So I'm a new dad, a husband. I live in London, currently traveling though. I'm currently in Kathmandu, and we are currently on this kind of journey to fly around the world, living these really uncertain times. Our next destination is hopefully over the weekend. We're going to heading to Albania, as it were. So we as a family of 3 love traveling, as you can probably tell. I'm an engineer by profession, so I studied AI at university, did some research in AI, and I got into marketing as it happens. So digital marketeer. Proper Greek geek, but I love marketing is what I'm going to say. This is my 3rd business. In the past, I've sold a business in the event space in the UK. I currently run my 3rd business in the space of content writing. So we write content for B2B companies across the world, mainly enterprise customers and sort of medium-sized companies, and we help them sell better and grow faster. My passion is to help individuals and businesses to be the best version of themselves. So I especially champion women in our business. So we actually make sure we empower women by bringing them into the space of technology, for them to be represented in the ecosystem, especially in the tech world, where unfortunately there are not enough women as I'd like to have. And also we spend a lot of time and energy to help all individuals work in the company to be the best version of themselves always. So we train them, we take care of them. We're a remote first company, so by default we work online. So taking care of people's mindset, their health, their well-being is super important to us. I'm going to stop there for a bit, because I think I can keep going on and on about everything I do.
Hearing your 2 intros there, I can't for the life of me think why you would both want to be on a podcast about 6-star business. I mean, it just seems really puzzling to me. There is so much about 6-star and what both of you, Jamie and Raj, have shared, that I have a sense that this will be all our conversations for the podcast are exciting. But as both of you right on the outset have said that you're focused on helping people achieve their potential, which ultimately is what 6-star is about. But just on that, while we're talking about this concept of 6-star business, Raj, when you and I had an intro chat, it seems like last year, was it? It seems like a long time ago. It's great to see you again. What was it about that concept, if you like, of 6-star business which grabbed your attention and has held your interest long enough over a significant period of time to kind of show up here today with Av and me and Jamie to talk about it?
Well, it's a great question, actually. I remember when I first heard about the 6-star podcast, I was thinking to myself, I know 5-star, we often go for 5-star hotels, don't we? We're like 5-star. And then I once heard about the 7-star hotel in Dubai. I'm like, wow, 7-star? That's like amazing. The standard is 5 and you suddenly go to 6 or 7. And you basically almost say to yourself, this is like a step above everything else. Whether you go to stay in a 7-star hotel or you attend a 6-star podcast, it's about being the best version of yourself, which is part of my core value. I believe in challenging myself and my team to be absolutely impressive, absolutely amazing. And I think when I came to this podcast, I'm like, okay, you know what? It's time to kind of showcase what is the mindset to be more than just the norm, just to be normal. It's about being absolutely outstanding, and that's why I thought it's awesome that I got the opportunity to come in and join all three of you.
What about you, Jamie?
When we first spoke, Pete, something resonated with myself that very seldom have I ever thought in that notion of 6 stars. We talk about 5 stars, we talk about excellence, we talk about the pinnacle of some form of standards. But then thinking beyond that, we're really thinking, what is that? What is the territory beyond that, which I found just absolutely fascinating. Because like Raj, my belief is that we all as individuals have got this perfection at the core of us. We've got this uniqueness. We've got this just this being that it's covered up by viruses and conditioning programs that we've been led to believe that we've got limitations to what we can do. So what I aim to do is help people to understand that those limitations are mostly false. Those limitations are not your limitations, they're limitations that others have on yourself. And when we start thinking beyond our current level of capacity, yes, it might be scary. There's a lot of fear attached to that. Conditioned to think, what if it doesn't work? We need to curb our enthusiasm, curb our potential, just in case we fail. So this notion of going beyond what we think we know is the top level can be scary, but it can be absolutely liberating at the same time. Because what is that? What is that space? And how big is that space? One person said to me once, the space, the room for personal development is the largest room in the world. And we get to explore that. So yeah, absolutely fascinating.
Love that.
Thank you both. I couldn't agree more. And what a great way to start the conversation. And you both are in this space of effectively personal development. So I'd love to ask the question, what do you define as 5-star? A 5-star experience or a 5-star business? And then we can unpack then what that gap is or the difference to 6-star. So let's start with potentially 5-star. What do you see that as meaning or being?
Jamie, do you want to go first?
Okay, I'll set the 5-star standard. So 5-star for me is about experience. It's about that feeling that when you have engaged your service with organisation, that feeling you come away is 5-star. You feel that the connection, feel the way you're treated, the opportunities, just feeling safe, having that trust, feeling empowered to go and actually enjoy whatever that experience may be. But at the same time, if you ever stuck, if you feel you're not clear on certain things, there's that psychological safety as well, that it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to not know everything. It doesn't question your level of competencies. It just allows you to feel that and trust in others to help you take you to another level. So whether it be within you're away on vacation or you're working with a particular business that has empowered you to come in to help them take forward, having this unity and connectiveness for me is at the core of any 5-star rating. That it's about people. It's about people being there for other people. It's having that empathy. It's having leadership, not at one particular level of an organisation. That leadership would exist everywhere, from the person who's front facing all the way back to the CEO. The ethos, mantra, the language, the philosophy is consistent right throughout the organisation. And you feel that on a telephone call, you feel that by picking up a pamphlet, you feel that by walking into a room, you feel that wherever that is. And for me, that's what I believe.
That's really interesting, and it's a really great question, Av, that you asked there, because there's a lot on what you just shared, Jamie, that in other episodes of the podcast, there's aspects of what you've shared that have been talked about in the context of Six Star. So it's really interesting, and maybe this is a function of your job role in terms of potential and growth mindset and always aiming for the best. That for you, maybe 5-star is six star, I don't know. But let's pretend that what you've just described there is 5-star, which is amazing. That would be great. So Raj, your job, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to take that definition of what a 5-star business is like. What is that next dimension? What is that 6-star? What does that mean?
Well, I think all of us are in the pursuit of some sort of happy place, a sort of success, whatever that is for us. Could be in a life, could be at work, could be in something we're passionate about. And for me, obviously at the moment, I am working on the growth stage of a company, really accelerating the growth at the moment. And I'm being a new father as well. I'm just trying to kind of match these two things, juggle them two together. For me, it's about how do I maximize time with my family, yet not neglect the business while it's growing. So it's that kind of happy balance, happy medium. And the one way I think about this often is that to be the best version, you have to bring people in. If no man is an island, we have to always make sure that we bring people in, we delegate, for example. And when you bring somebody in, and when they come into the business, initially they're at half your capacity. So if you bring somebody in who is coming in to do, for example, the accounts, they'll be half as good as you are, and then you bring them up to 80%, and that's the top. From what I've been doing so far, the top you can do in terms of delegation is 80% of your ability as an entrepreneur, and there's still a 20% gap left there. So to reach 6-star, you have that big chunk of opportunities left to get people up to that next level. Equally, if you read these different books about from authors, like this one I read, I think it was James Collins, about it's called Good to Great, and it's about how do you build great companies from being good. I mean, good is most of the companies are not great, and there's some which are good. And he's talking about not good companies, he's talking about great companies, and how do you get to the great stage? And that is about sort of going out of your way to build something which is going to stay there even if you're not there anymore. And you build a culture, that you build a system which people can follow, that 80 years after you're gone, the company still keeps growing. People still keep thinking about the mindset of being successful. And that takes more than just sort of saying, what's in for me? It's the collective. It's about what we add to the ecosystem, our units, our opportunities. More than that, it's about the people around us and helping the greater good, basically.
That's a really interesting aspect to the conversation about a 6-star business, that it's not just about thinking about creating that amazing experience now, but it's actually what are we doing inside the business to make sure that can happen, like in 100 years time when we're not around. That seems to me to be an order of magnitude more difficult to achieve, but maybe that's where that space is, Jamie, that you were talking about. So when you take your definition of 5-star and think about stepping into this space that you described so brilliantly earlier, what do you see as that 6-star aspect?
For me, what I was describing earlier was almost from an external perspective. It's 5-star external verification that you've got outside saying that's 5-star. So whether that is the service user or customer or somebody experiencing that feeling of that, for me, that level beyond is being part of that organisation. The 6-star is the feeling part of that company, that entity, that actually you are feeling even more than what the service or end user feels. You are feeling part of something that is empowering you, that is igniting the fire deep within you. This organisation's got your back. You can take your life to whatever level you want to take it. And due to the feeling internally, and that magic and that power internally, then the pebble effect of that is even greater for those who experience that organisation. So it goes back to internally how you are treated. So that 6-star is about treating those of inside your organisation even better than your customer, even better than your service user. Because if that's the case inside, then that power that is unleashed, and that's, you could call that culture, you can call that philosophy, you can just call that relationships, but that's something, when you take 5-star services or entities across the world, do we get a true feeling of what's happening within? We know what's happening on the outside, but what is happening within?
You said, Jamie, it's about treating people inside better or bigger than even treating the customers. Can you expand on that a little bit, please? I'd love to hear also Raj's thoughts about this after.
Your profile as an organisation is your most important for new business, for repeat business, for opportunities, for growth, for scale, for global domination. The only way you can do that is if you can empower and trust and build capacity that you can duplicate again and again, where there's a blueprint with key principles of that success that can last for generations. So that comes from right from the top, a real consistency of approach that everybody's bought into. That whether you are, it doesn't matter who you're speaking to across the hierarchy of an organization, the hierarchy is not there, it's only on paper. It's that you're made to feel that you're no lesser than anybody else. You're a key cog in that function of the organisation. If you want to take your career or potential to any level, then that opportunity exists, and you're not being felt to, or made to feel, if you want to just stay at a particular level, people should respect that. You've got your place, and that's where you would like to take that. So that level of respect, that level of opportunity, that level of relationship, that feeling of actually every single person within an organisation would run through a brick wall for that organisation because of the way they feel. Part of that, own that, and that for me is not about a document, that is about feeling deep within that you cannot wait to work. You cannot wait to explore ideas. You feel heard. People listen to you. They respect your views and opinions. And there's an open, honest dialogue, professional debate about how we to improve. Anybody can put their point of view forward, regardless of what level they are within an organisation.
Wow, that's really powerful there, Jamie. Thanks for sharing that. I completely agree. And I must also say that while I agree with Jamie, I'm still learning. I've only had the opportunity so far to grow coming to 45 million in revenue, from 7.5 to 45. And that was a very painful process. But I haven't seen what happens when you're growing the company to revenues of $1 billion, for example. I mean, I don't know what stuff breaks, how do you kind of get people to be motivated then, for example. I'm passionate about empowerment. I'm passionate about that kind of that feeling in the gut that this is the right thing. But I must say, from my experience, in a smaller organization, when we had 10, 20 people, it was much easier to know people's names, to know what their current challenges. But as we grow further, as we're hiring 10, 20 people per week, for example, it becomes so much harder to even know the people's names, for example, let alone how they feel. And how do you scale up that kind of feeling across an organization? How do you make sure that you're there for everybody? How can you how can we give them an opportunity to have a say as we're growing up? And that's something which I'm still exploring, still trying to learn. Because I think I completely agree with Jamie. That is the six-star experience. That feeling in the company that we are one, that we are growing, that each one of us feels empowered. That is a very important part, and that's more important than the customers, because if our teams are empowered, if our teams are feeling strong together and they feel they're growing, they will pass on that vibe to the customers as well. And in that case, in that way, they represent the company. After all, the company really is just the team. Technology and everything else can be built. But the team is the thing which we care about. As an investor today, when I invest money into companies as an angel investor, I look at the actual team. For me, it's the horse. It's not the whole tech or what they're kind of building. Are they building a Uber app like thing, or they're building something, for example, for delivery? It doesn't matter. It's about the people, the team members there. So yeah, I think it's really powerful, but it's about scaling up that experience as well. I think that's where, as I said, I'm still trying to get my head around how do we scale that feeling across the whole company, for example.
Great question. And I'd love to hear Jamie's response to that.
For me, it goes back to something that is part of my daily life, organisations I work with, and it's something called the impression of increase. That there is a consistency across an organisation. Whoever you engage with in that day, you leave somebody with that impression increase. So whether that's praising, whether that is just identifying something you're wearing, the forefront of your mind, consistency across an organisation is leaving everybody with an impression of increase, then you have got this feeling within an organisation that you're part of something. It's warm, and sometimes you can't articulate what that feels like. So absolutely Raj's point about how do you scale that? How do you get that consistency about an organisation? But if you've got an understanding, and it's all about understanding of what the principle, the values you have across an organisation, and there's a strong process to help people be inducted effectively into this, to understand people, and that's part of a recruitment process as well. If we're really serious about really sustaining or growing or scaling with these core values being apparent anywhere across the world, then you really need to get every single process within your organisation, from how you recruit, who you're targeting, what that process is about identification, what that induction process looks like, what the checkpoints are that people are understanding and are needing more support if they need that, and then having those quality standard checks. But what does that mean regularly? And it goes back to recognition. Once somebody's into the organisation, how much value do organisations place on recognition? Really recognising the efforts, recognising people overcoming challenges, recognising people who are going above and beyond regularly, and that comes back down to relationships. And there needs to be a focus. And I was speaking to an organisation yesterday that over the past 18 months, we've had to pivot, we've had to adapt, and people have been so innovative and have really been there for colleagues, and there's lots of successes, but we are very tentative to celebrate success, particularly over the past 15 months, due to people having real tough times. But what does that mean for those who really have been not recognising them and are a bit sensitive to what's been happening across the world? What happens to that level of morale, to that level of intensity, that level of a desire? Recognition is something that we all need. And that means something different for all of us, but it needs to be part of the core. And that again is that impression of increase. It's really meaning it. It's not an email you get to congratulate you for doing something. It's really heartfelt, and you feel that was authentic. That was for me. That was absolutely specific to what I've done. That's a real challenge, but we're talking about 6 stars here. And that's what 6 star is. Getting to that level.
What I'm really appreciating in this conversation is both the sense and the focus that a 6 star business is it's inward focusing. It's about the business. It's about the people in the business, and that externally, we're never going to get more than 5 stars. 5 stars is always going to be the benchmark. But the way that you get that consistent 5-star rating across the board is by being a 6-star business inside. And maybe that's been obvious to Av and other people that be on the podcast, but it's not the pennies dropping for me that's really what it's all about. There's not really a question there. It's more of an observation. And I just really appreciate how that's coming out of this conversation.
Absolutely. And this goes back to the most valuable person within the business. It's yourself. And sometimes when we're getting to birthdays, we like to focus on other people, empowering other people. The most valuable person is us. And in order for us to be part of that 6-star business within, we need to look after ourselves. We need to have that self-love, that self-respect, that self-forgiveness to say, actually, if I'm not in physical or mental tip-top condition, how on earth can I provide 6 stars? We are the 6th star. We are the 6th star. And if we can get people to have that self-leadership, that self-worth, essentially improving their self-image, then the 6th star take care of themselves. And that needs an environment, that needs a culture to say that we value, you are the most important person to us, because if you're operating on 50%, then that's the service we're going to provide. We need you to be the best you can be, and then everything takes care of it. That's a hard thing to do, because sometimes we don't focus on ourselves. We don't give ourselves that time for self-care. We make sacrifices in order for other people to achieve. But if we start to, inside us, that we start to fix some of the barriers in us, then we can really take it to that 6th star.
I mean, just to add to what Jamie is saying, I completely agree. It's about the actual leader to kind of bring that culture and those values in. And I think there are a lot of frameworks today which will help you to do proper check-ins. I mean, there's this thing called, for example, we use a thing called EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System, which basically gives you a framework on how to do check-ins with people. I mean, when you're, again, as a remote first company, so all our team members are across the world. We actually connect through the internet, and that's how we operate. It becomes harder to actually see people eye to eye or have water cooler discussions. And then how do you do those check-ins with them? And so there are frameworks out there to, what we call the rocks. So it's basically set in stone. So hence it's called the rocks, whereby you just, you kind of, each manager does that check-in with their team members. The first thing you ask them, what's the result so far on the last task I gave you? It's not about that. It's about, how do you feel? How is it feeling today? And for everything they do, whether it's linked to the company or not, it's about a feeling. Because I think the feeling is the most important thing to realize for every task they've done. Because if they feel good, if they feel motivated, if they feel that they are empowered, they'll produce results. That's why we kind of don't look at the quality, let's not assess every task, for example. We just kind of look at the feelings for everything. We see the feeling is positive, optimistic, then we know it's done properly. The feeling is negative, or then really that's a problem, and then that task will never be done in the proper way. So, and that's how that's the framework we use even to see if the clients we have at the moment are right fit for us. I mean, a company is not only what they get, it's also about what they select. And we are very selective about who we hire. I mean, for us, our clients is a hire as well. We hire our clients. I mean, we reach out to them, they reach out to us, but if they're not a good fit, unfortunately, we fire them as well. And I think that's a really important part for the health and well-being of the entire team, because they are responsible to deliver the work for them, and we need to make sure that everybody's healthy and enjoying the thing that they do, so that we make sure that they are not only delivering the work, but actually enjoying the experience of being with our company.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Feelings. Who'd have thought they were important in delivering a 6-star experience?
For me, back to what I said at the start, that's the 5th star for external verification, but that's the 6th star for internal. It's how it's feel. And feeling is, in terms of that, and I'm going to use the word love, okay, because love is something, it's the highest frequency we've got. It's the highest feeling and it's the most powerful feeling. And if we can get close to that feeling of being loved within an organisation and you feel part of that, then you will express that and radiate that feeling outwards. And that's where, for me, that really understand how we, as human beings, operate. We all operate on feelings. And our subconscious mind is the control centre of us. It's our emotional mind. And our emotions come from our thoughts. So do we believe that we are part of something that is there for us? Because our thoughts will determine how we feel. So on a conscious level, do you believe that you're part of something you're part of something that you should be proud of? If you think that way, then you feel that way. If your thinking is about, I'm at threat here, I don't know if I'm safe, can I trust anybody within that order, then your feeling is going to be one of worry, doubt, fear. And you're going to express that. Those anxieties will come across in every engagement you have, internally and externally. Which means that, regardless if people know this or not, you will feel threatened by that organisation. You will feel that feeling of internal fear. You will fear that internal anxiety. On the flip side, if you feel safe, if you feel respected, that feeling of faith that is so empowering, faith and love, I'm going to use that word again, you feel part of that, then the only way that happens is that you express that internally with your colleagues, with your leaders, with the service users, with customers. And that doesn't mean face to face. You can feel that online. With the power of that frequency, you can feel that. You can see it on the material. You can see that in adverts. You can see that on social media. You can feel that. And that's where it's powerful. Feeling is the most important thing, because your feeling dictates how you behave. Over 90% of our behaviours are automatic. They're subconscious. And it comes from feelings. So if our feelings dictate our behaviours, and our behaviours dictate our results, we need to understand the power, feeling, and on that frequency of faith, love, respect over that fear.
Wow, that's big. So Raj, in answer to the question that you asked earlier about how do you create 6 stars with an expanding company where you're hiring 10 people a week, with what Jamie's just said, I'm going to pose to you, well, how can you create that? Maybe therein lies a challenge or something to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. I think it is feeling comfortable. It's about feeling that kind of experience that you are here in an important role. I think it gets much harder, though, from experience, it gets much harder to kind of really explain that. I mean, just to give you an example, we just launched a series of new incentives for our team. For example, we've just, obviously we are remote from day one, so that's not a problem. But we are also giving our team members unlimited holidays. So you can take as many holidays as you want to take the entire year, for example. We're giving them, for example, buy equipment, for example, from, for your place. There's some things we already provide, but if you need more than that, we'll happily give you some loans to kind of go and purchase things which you need, for instance. We are giving a lot of other things, which are retreats, for example, which most companies offer. But I think it becomes, I would love to see an example where we can scale this up online. So when the experience is completely online, when you're meeting people at all, how do you transmit that feeling to people? It's certainly a bit more challenging. And in these times when things are uncertain, we come out of the pandemic, we come out of the lockdown, we go back again to lockdown. We just don't know what's happening, to be honest. We don't know if we'll be able to travel, for example. We don't know if we'll be able to go back to work regularly, for instance. Will we actually spend more than a day, for example, in a whole week at work, or will we be sort of working remotely again? So with those feelings, it becomes a bit harder in my experience to kind of really transmit a feeling of being there for team members. Obviously, that feeling does exist, and it's there. But to have the same experience as you would if you were in the office. It's certainly harder, certainly much harder. I think another thing I want to kind of mention is that something with 6-star is if you look at examples of great work across the board, I'm talking about in any field, in any area, in any country. Like look at the work of Michelangelo or some of the leaders in art, for example. When they lived and when they performed their work, they weren't recognized for their achievements. It takes much longer to recognize a 6-star, a 7-star experience or 6-star, 7-star outcome. So maybe the actions which are happening today amongst different individuals, organizations, might lead us to something awesome, but we only know after 5 to 10 years that actually worked for us. So we have to kind of look back and see, all right, that worked for us, so let's replicate that into our company or our organization. People say, oh, Slack was built overnight. And actually, it wasn't. It took 5 years of pain and agony to build Slack to the level it was. And then in 1 year, it kind of raised tons of cash and it is where it is today, for example. So I think it's important to realize that it takes time. And that even if it's in front of us, we just can't recognize that is 6-star experience or not, for instance.
What do you think about Jamie's use of the L word, Raj? Do you think that has a place in business?
Absolutely. I think it's in today's world, and I think we're all privileged to be in a very peaceful time where we don't have to worry about wars, for example, and we all have food to eat, for example. Today, people are a bit more picky about what they want to do. And if there's no love in what you do, if there's no passion in what you do, why would you do it? I mean, you might as well sit at home and not do anything, because there's a lot. The generation who's coming into workforce at the moment, they talk about passion and love quite a lot, and I think it's a good thing, because I think we are now driven by what we really want to do, as opposed to what we have to do because we have to earn some money for our family. And I think that's a great place to be in. I support it, and I think we should all love what we do. If we don't, it'll show, as Jamie pointed out earlier as well.
Jamie, I can see you smiling there.
Yeah, listen, there's no getting away that when you talk about 6 stars, the first thought that is, whoa, this is challenging. How on earth can we get there? So the first thoughts we have is, my goodness, the implications of having to change and having to do things is one thing. But what it all starts with in any organisation is desire. Having the desire to make things 6-star. And it's the starting point of all achievements is desire. Without that desire, then it will feel a chore. It will feel an after. Here we've got to be 6 stars. Not we need to, we've got to. So it's really breaking this down. The challenges are, especially working remotely, yes, there's a challenge here because that human contact in that space is different. However, I'm sure we've all experienced. So for example, Raj, where are you based right now?
Well, currently in Kathmandu, but I live in London.
Okay, Kathmandu. Pete, where are you currently?
I'm in Coventry in England.
Coventry.
I live on the Gold Coast in Australia.
Wow. Here's me in Scotland. Look at the different countries the 4 of us on right now. Okay, so there is methods of bringing remote working together. There's methods of bringing significant amount of people together that you could not do face to face. And that's about that desire to make that happen. Every 6 weeks, the organisation I'm part with the Procter Gallagher, we come together. So this weekend past, there was 250 of us got together from nearly every country in the world. So there's a main presentation, the ethos, this is the purpose, this is what we're doing. Then we go into breakout rooms of 4 or 5 from different people across the world. And we've all got that one common denominator of why we're there. And we speak about successes, we speak about challenges, we build up new relationships. The friends I've got across the world now, because virtually we can create virtual staff rooms We can create rooms we would never experience people across an organisation. And you go away from a meeting going, wow, I feel worthy, I feel part of this, I've created new friends, I've got human connections, I feel great. And then you do that on a consistent and regular basis, and you commit to this forever. You can make a huge global organisation all of a sudden feel smaller again, with the power of being in rooms of different places across the world. And we feel we're together. We feel we are actually in the same room. So it's really thinking about the opportunities that could, yes, there's absolute challenges about how to make this happen. The opportunities we've got in this day and age to bring people together, it's never been as easy. And it's worth exploring. If any organisations think about 6-star, that desire to do that. And what I mean by that is not looking at 5, 6, 7, 8 key performance indicators to make us look 6-star. It's focusing on one thing at a time, potentially 2 maximum. And as an organisation, just focusing on one thing. And that one thing can be, how do we come closer together and really have that desire to do that? And the byproduct of that is that feeling. The byproduct of that is that empowerment, is that trust, is that safety, and that human connection on a huge level that we would never have got before.
Wow, that's beautiful.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I suddenly feel kind of like speechless and very grateful for being here in this worldwide little tiny meeting room that we're in right now, and being brought together with you amazing humans who've just blown me away on this episode. I think we're at the top of the hour, and can you believe it's almost time to wrap it up? These conversations go so quickly. So have you got any passing closing thoughts, Pete, for our guests? Sorry. Pete's got coughs. So, wow, what I wanted to just reflect back was just this focus back to ourselves. One, the importance of that, the importance of love in business and connection. And I think from what both of you've said, that if we bring that into everything that we do, we are going to create closer connections, no matter where we are. And that the 6-star, I guess, journey is one that it's kind of ongoing. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah. We are the 6-star. You are the 6-star. That's where it lives. That's where it exists. That's where it lives.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
I love that. And it just brings, just going back to what you were saying earlier, Jamie, about when you think about becoming 6-star and it's like, oh, it's a challenge. But just the essence of what you described there actually makes it incredibly simple. It's like, it's the individuals in a company. They are the 6th star of your business. Love them, care for them, connect with them, help them, create space where they can achieve their potential and become the best versions of themselves, Raj, as you talk about. And your business cannot fail but receive that external validation by virtue of being 5-star rated. I've absolutely adored this conversation.
So
I can't, and I don't mean that to discount the other conversations I've had, but this has been amazing. And so is that it? Do we really have to end now? I mean, it's just...
I'm sorry, Pete. Yep.
Yeah. Raj, Jamie, just value you, appreciate you, love you both for being here. And don't know what else to say, really. Av, can you just
yes, immense gratitude to you both. And I'm really excited to drop this and publish this episode and get feedback from our listeners, because there's so much gold in this that everyone can take away. And I'm really humbled by the wisdom you've both brought. I wish you all the best in your travels, Raj, Jamie, in everything that you're doing. And I just want to thank you for being here with us today in this magical moment.
I just want to say thank you very much to both of you, actually, for making this happen. I mean, we brought Jamie and myself together, and obviously all the other listeners who are listening from the comfort of their home or their cars or running or whatever they're doing currently. Thank you for bringing up this topic. You're talking about excellence, talking about how to care, love, provide more than just what we do in our work or in our lives. So thank you both of you for putting it together, and thanks for sharing with everybody else in the ecosystem.
I've been better with that. Thank you very much for allowing me to be part of this, because what you guys are doing can have a significant impact across the world. So well done, and thank you so much.
Thank you both.
Thank you. That was another stimulating, thought-provoking episode of the 6-Star Business Podcast.
Thank you so much for getting this far. Please go ahead, like, subscribe, and give us a comment, review.
A rating, if there was a 6-star, we'd love you to give us a 6-star rating, but so just go as high as you can.
And if you want to continue the conversation with us and all the cool people who've joined us from the podcast, head on over to apply.6starbusiness.community.
See you there.